Sea urchins are not only healthy and prolific, they also play an important role in our aquatic ecosystems. There are 950 different species of sea urchins found around the world, of which about 18 are edible. In Australia, there are 3 main species of sea urchins harvested for food: the purple or short-spined sea urchin, Heliosidaris erythrogramma, the long-spined sea urchin, Centrostephanus rogersii, and the red sea urchin, H. tuberculata. Purple sea urchins are native to Australia, and are found in coastal waters in southern Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, South Australia, and Western Australia. They are typically found in shallow waters down to 10 meters deep, but can be found in waters as deep as 35 meters. The long-spined sea urchin, commonly known as the centro, is most common in the southeastern regions of Australia, ranging from southern Queensland to coastal waters in Tasmania. Red sea urchins are found from southern Queensland to southern New South Wales, and are best harvested from late spring to early summer. At low tide, you can collect them from rocks by wading in the water. If you have a snorkel and mask, you can dive in and use a knife to pry them off the rocks. However, their spines are very sharp, so you will need to wear gloves. You must be extremely careful when doing this. Harvesting should only be done in calm seas and with extreme caution. Keep an eye out for rough waves. You don't want to be swept away or impaled on rocks. A good knowledge of the ocean is essential. With their long, sharp spines, sea urchins are well designed to deter predators. At first glance, they may seem impenetrable, but with a couple of spoons and a little ingenuity, they are quite accessible. There are tools you can buy to open sea urchins, but unless you plan to harvest and eat them regularly, these are not necessary. The eggs can be easily extracted with 2 spoons and a couple of bowls of ice water holding the urchin lengthwise. Place 1 spoon on the head of the urchin, pressing into its shell, placing the other spoon back to back. Form a point with the 2 spoons, applying enough pressure to crack the shell before bringing the spoons together to pry the shell open. Carefully split the shell open with your hands, shake the contents into a bucket and you will see the orange-yellow roe around the edge of the shell. Place a smaller teaspoon behind the roe and scoop it out. The roe is very soft, so take your time and be careful and try to get it all out intact. Rinse the roe in the first bowl of ice water to rinse it before placing it in the second bowl for a minute or 2, then transfer to a plate to dry. It is best to process harvested sea urchins the same day and store on damp paper towels. Eat the same day for maximum flavor and nutritional value, but the roe will last for up to 4 days if kept below 3 degrees Celsius. While you can freeze the roe, doing so will affect both the texture and flavor. The roe has a buttery texture with a refreshing ocean flavor and can be eaten fresh or cooked. The easiest way is to eat it fresh with a little lemon and soy sauce. Versatile and packed with umami, roe can be used in sushi, added to pasta, or frozen into butter for use as needed. A great substitute for regular butter in surf and turf, garlic shrimp, mussels, or other seafood dishes. Eating sea urchins not only opens up your palate to new flavors and textures, but also plays an important role in balancing coastal ecosystems. You will notice the orange-yellow roe remaining around the edges of the shell. Sea urchins have been a big hit here lately. We can barely keep them in tanks because people come from all over to buy them. The goldfish roe inside, which you eat, is like edible gold from the ocean. I mean, look at the guy from Los Angeles above, he's a happy customer. So, you might ask, why are sea urchins so special? Live sea urchins are a completely different experience than sushi sea urchins. As the sushi FAQ says, fresh sea urchins taken directly from the live sea urchin will command the highest price, and are worth the experience because this fresh sea urchin is significantly different from sea urchins that have been processed 24 hours earlier. Eating live sea urchins is a completely different experience. Just open it up, rinse it, and enjoy. The taste and texture are both better with live sea urchins. It's hard to describe the taste of a sea urchin. Imagine trying to describe the taste of something to someone who has never tasted anything like it. Hard, ha. Asking people what it tastes like gives us a clue, in a way. Most people say, it tastes like the pure deep ocean, or it has a delicious sweetness. I know that doesn't say much about what it actually tastes like, but everyone agrees it's delicious. Eating live sea urchin is dramatic. It's cracked open for you, and the spines are still moving as you eat it. That's right, that's right. It's still moving as you enjoy it. Don't believe me? Check this out. It may sound gross to you, but what other food can you eat while it's still moving? Yes, we admit it's a little weird, but it's also pretty fun. In fact, sea urchins will move for over 30 minutes after being cracked open. Also, Expect this exotic delicacy to be a conversation starter. People around you will ask you all sorts of questions about it, so be prepared to meet new people because of your sea urchin. Meeting new people is always fun, right? So next time you get a chance to try live sea urchin, give it a try. You might like it. Green sea urchins have recently become one of Maine's most valuable resources. Sea urchin roe is a delicacy in Europe, Japan, and some ethnic markets in the northeastern United States, but it is the Japanese market that has fueled the rapid growth of the fishery. The fishery's success is due to the abundance of the resource, the favorable exchange rate between the yen and the dollar, and the development of harvesting and processing techniques that match the quality demanded by the Japanese market. Is this market sustainable, given the distance and demand for quality product? What fishing practices would best sustain the resource? What would be the ecological impacts of removing large numbers of sea urchins from the seafloor habitat along the coast? These are the questions we will face in the coming years as this new fishery tests the limits of the resource. There has been a small sea urchin fishery in Maine for many years, but prior to 1985, the urchin catch was limited to about 45 tons, supplying ethnic markets in Boston and New York. Beginning in 1987, the catch began to increase dramatically until 1992, when it reached nearly 12,000 tons, over 26 million pounds. The value of the catch increased from less than $50,000 before 1987 to nearly $15 million in 1990. Preliminary catch data for 1993 indicate that the urchin catch was about 15,000 tons. The best quality roe is found in relatively shallow, subtidal water. Dense concentrations are usually found at depths of about 40 feet. The most common means of harvesting them is by small bottom drags or scuba diving, although traps, airlifts, or water pumps can also be used. Scuba diving is most commonly used on the west coast, where tidal currents are less of a problem than on the east. A dive team typically consists of one or more divers and a side boat and operator. The divers pick up the roe from the bottom, place it in a mesh bag, and the operator pulls the bag up and dumps it into a bucket on deck. The person on deck continually checks the quality of the roe. Urchins are harvested by drag in areas where diving is not possible. In general, drags can produce a larger total volume, but can also produce damaged and lower quality urchins. A small, lightweight drag used for short, 5-minute drags will minimize damage. For information on drag specifications, contact Bruce Chamberlain at 667-4595. The quality of sea urchin eggs varies greatly and depends largely on the season and type of habitat in which the sea urchins are found. Kelp is the preferred food, and kelp-fed sea urchins produce the highest quality eggs. Successful harvesting is not just a matter of going out and picking sea urchins off the bottom. Most high-quality sea urchins are found in what is known as a feed line, a narrow strip of bottom directly beneath a bed of kelp. The ideal harvesting method is to remove the quality sea urchins from the feed line and allow the others to move into the main feeding area and develop quality eggs for subsequent harvesting. Marketable sea urchins can be found year-round, but most sea urchins spawn in early spring. November through March is when the reproductive tissue is ripe for commercial harvesting, before the roe has actually developed. Sea urchin spines are very fragile, so care must be taken not to break them when harvesting, especially when pulling. The spines are part of the skeleton, and broken spines allow salt water to enter the shell and damage the membrane that holds the eggs. The number of sea urchin harvesters has increased significantly since 1987. It is an attractive source of income because it can be harvested in relatively shallow water with basic diving equipment. Prices are also attractive, and so far the market seems to be able to absorb all the quality sea urchins that can be harvested. Until January 1991, the exact number of sea urchin harvesters could only be estimated because only a general commercial fishing license was required. Starting January 1, 1992, a special license from the Department of Marine Resources was required to harvest sea urchins. A hand harvesting license or a boat harvesting license could be purchased for $89. In 1992, 807 hand harvesting licenses and 232 boat harvesting licenses were issued. In 1993, there were 1,439 hand fishing licenses and 568 boat fishing licenses. The Japanese are very fond of the orange-yellow reproductive tissue of sea urchins, which fetch high prices fresh at Tokyo fish market auctions. Local harvests in Japan are insufficient to meet demand, so the Japanese import sea urchin roe from around the world. Since the 1970s, there has been a vibrant market in California and British Columbia, where several species have been targeted, including the large red sea urchin, purple sea urchin, and green sea urchin. When the West Coast population was depleted by fishing, the search shifted to the Atlantic coast, where green sea urchins are abundant in Maine and Canadian waters. The watchword in the sea urchin roe market is quality. This is not just a general euphemism, but involves a very specific set of criteria: freshness, exact color, exact weight, and product preparation. The Maine market did not take off until Japanese representatives came to Maine to explain what was needed to satisfy their market. Even today, many Maine processors still hire Japanese people to oversee production. Caviar is graded by color, which can be very specific to each buyer. Caviar color ranges from bright yellow to orange to gray, but pale yellow is considered the highest grade, followed by pale orange. Different parts of the Japanese market prefer different shades of yellow. The Maine Cooperative Extension Service and the Maine Department of Marine Resources have developed a color and weight chart to help buyers, dealers, and harvesters discuss the quality of sea urchin caviar. The weight of the caviar is measured by the weight of the whole sea urchin. The best weight percentage ranges from 10 to 20%, but higher percentages are often paid. Generally, 10% is the minimum acceptable, although in recent years, as demand has increased, sea urchins with very low percentages have been accepted by some dealers. A 10% ratio means it takes 1,000 pounds of sea urchin to produce 100 pounds of product. There are about 56 places along the Maine coast that buy sea urchin, but most of the sea urchin goes to just a few large dealers, mostly in the Portland area. There are two methods of processing sea urchin: one is to airship whole sea urchins to Japan, and the other is to extract the eggs at the factory and airship them to Japan. The first method has the advantage of being simple with the least amount of labor and handling. The second method has the advantage of being cheaper to airship, but requires careful handling, more labor, and a higher risk of product rejection in Japan. As processing technology has advanced, many large dealers are processing sea urchins in Maine and shipping eggs to Japan. There are currently no scientific estimates of the size of the sea urchin population on the Maine coast or the level of harvesting required to optimize sea urchin egg production. Not surprisingly, opinions range from a huge untapped resource to imminent depletion. Theoretically,